This news program is proudly brought to you by Paradise Foods, celebrating 90 years in PNG.
National budget discussed. Government urged to prioritize elections in the upcoming budget. And housing to be made available for all public servants. A very good evening. This is Monday's News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. The Executive Director for the Institute of National Affairs, Paul Barker, emphasized on the 2024 national budget breakup that is expected to be delivered by this week in Parliament. He made this statement today at the Institute of National Affairs office in Port Moresby. The national government's main agenda this coming week will be on the national budget breakup for 2024. Key service delivery areas involve proper planning, such as the Connect PNG program, education and health sectors, law and order, and social responsibility for Papua New Guineans. Director for the Institute of National Affairs, Paul Barker, gave his statement in regards to this.
2023 was meant to be a year they expected to have a 5% growth rate, so quite a lot of economic activity happening during the year, but the growth rate was rather less than that, probably 2, maybe 2.5%. So that was partly because, activities like Porgera was expected to take off again early in the year and then in the middle of the year or then late in the year, but it's all slipped back. So they've got to do something like 16 landowner agreements with the landowners all around Porgera and over to Hydes. So they're envisaging doing that, achieving that by the end of the first quarter next year. So now everything has slipped back to next year. So the forecasts are for stronger growth next year.
Barker further elaborated on this.
You want to focus on what has been agreed, which is really some core infrastructure, getting the schools up to running, getting the standards up, health services up. As many would say, well, one of the big ambitious projects for the country is this Connect PNG. Yeah, clearly you want to connect PNG, but you particularly want to connect the population so they can access markets and services. Yes, it's a good ambition to try and interconnect the provinces, but there are different ways to do that by air, sea and roads. But one has to be realistic. If you build major new interprovincial highways, you've got to fund them afterwards. You've got to maintain them. And we're clearly having problems maintaining what we already have. So we've got to go for the standards so that what you maintain is sustained.
The Director of National Affairs, Institute of National Affairs, Paul Barker, is urging the national government to start budgeting for the 2027 general elections to avoid related issues encountered during the 2022 election period. Barker made his statements in an exclusive interview with EMTV News Today in Port Moresby.
Over the years, government allocation of funding towards the conduct of the national general election has always been the last minute when it comes to election periods, which has prompted other associated issues to arise. In most cases, funding for the general election seemed to be insufficient and not meeting the exact cost as per the electoral commissioners, both past and present. Considering all this past experience, the Director Baka for the Institute of National Affairs have urged the national government to start budgeting for the 2027 national general election in its budget that's coming up.
And obviously it comes back to the election. So the next year's budget is going to have to budget for the census, and it's going to have to start budgeting for the next election, because what we've seen in the last years is that always the funds seem to be released at the last minute. The Electoral Commission and the other institutions, the police, the defence and others, are not really prepared until right the last minute.
By prioritizing the election in the 2024 budget, it will give the Electoral Commission ample time to prepare well for the election conduct and ensure people's choices are represented on the floor of Parliament so as to gain the public trust in the electoral process.
2022 election and the 2017 election really lacked credibility. And it's really critical for the 2027 election that public trust is built up in the electoral process, and therefore with the government of the day and the institutions that are there to serve them.
Mr. Baka emphasized that both the election and census has to be included in this budget for effective conduct.
So that's one of the. That and the census are going to be two big ticket items for next year, although most obviously would be in 2026 and the year leading up to the election, but there needs to be some funding next year, but it's also meant to have the local level government.
Mr. Baka made these remarks in an exclusive interview with EMTV News Today in Port Moresby. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, the director for the Institute of National Affairs, Paul Baka, spoke on the recent issue that was raised in Parliament last week on the central bank's decision to cease the use of cheques in the country by the 22nd of next month. Mr. Baka shared his sentiments at the Institute of National Affairs office in Port Moresby. In his response to the issue of doing away with the use of cheques in the country, Prime Minister James Marape gave his bold statement that Papua New Guinea's economy was not ready. Prime Minister Marape responded to the Governor for East Sepik Province, Alan Bird, who raised this question without notice on this issue last week in Parliament. Meanwhile, Director for the Institute of National Affairs, Paul Baka, shared his sentiments on this national issue to this newsroom today.
Central Bank has announced that cheques will no longer be usable by the end of the year. Well, no, we shouldn't be trying to restrict. I'm not sure that's within the legal powers or really within the mandate of the Central Bank anyway. But that apart, we should be providing the services which are needed and available by different segments of the business and the private and households, rather than trying to restrict it. So if cheques still have a role, we should allow those cheques to still be used, phase them out over the next couple of years maybe, but go through a process while building up the new services that are available for businesses in urban areas and in rural areas.
PNG has reached a critical level when it comes to housing. Some think families today, especially public servants, who are now experiencing high rentals and unable to afford homes in the market while resorting to cheaper accommodation or affordable housing in settlements. The Department of Personnel Management is now focusing on addressing the housing issues faced by the public servants in the workforce.
Statistics show that there are about 200,000 public servants in PNG to date are experiencing issues of owning a house or having a place to reside. DPM is taking a new approach in ensuring that public servants' housing needs are met, leaving no one unattended. The steps taken by DPM for the public servants' housing require the best affordable financial guidance and support. Number 1 Super Limited CEO Paul Sayer gave an insight on this.
The state actually makes a small saving. They make a saving on your long service leave and they make a saving on your leave because everything's based on a slightly lower salary. That's the hint to the state to come into the party to say, I'm giving you some concessions here because I know I've actually given you slightly lower benefits over here. How do we get this equally done between the different groups?
We have reached a point of crisis where many of them have resorted to reside in informal settlements with no proper access to basic amenities.
We have a lot of dependents, and so it's very, very difficult for us to balance our pay and then participate in this housing scheme. The only place we can afford to live is in the settlement, and you will see a lot of public servants living in the settlements.
A lot of public servants are facing hardships while going to work, prompting DPM to speed up its process on the public service housing scheme so that these houses are provided for them. Francisca Anania, National EMTV News.
Air Niugini has resumed its flight into Mount Hagen as of today after 180 meters of the section of the runway has been completed following maintenance and repairs works.
After fixing the 180 meters of the runway section at the Kagamega Airport in Mount Hagen, Air Niugini resumed its flights today. A good news to the traveling public at this peak periods, given the fact that Kagamega serves as the major airport and one of the busiest serving the Highlands region. CASA, upon inspecting the maintenance work, Air Niugini resumed its Fokker jets operation into Mount Hagen today. Operations of Fokker jets to Mount Hagen were suspended in late September to allow the National Airports Corporation to carry out urgent maintenance works on the airport runway. During the period of the runway repairs, all Air Niugini flights to Hagen were downgraded to Dash 8 operations. According to the Air Niugini's acting chief executive officer, Mr. Gary Seddon, Mount Hagen is the major airport serving the Highlands region and is of vital importance to the economy and community, and are pleased that the runway maintenance has been completed, highlighting that they are now able to resume operations with larger jet aircraft in time for the busy Christmas peak period. Air Niugini operates up to 5 daily flights to Mount Hagen. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. With the devastation that recently shook the oil palm province, West New Britain provincial government advised that so far there are 14,313 displaced people affected by the Mount Ulawun eruption, currently living in 10 care centers in the province.
These statistics followed an initial rapid assessment conducted by the technical team from the Forward Base Operations. There are 10 care centers established so far, with 14,313 displaced people living in those care centers. The care centers are namely Barema New Clearing, Barema Mill Compound, Sovula Primary School, Soy Community, Bago, Pandi, Bakada, Lolobao, Magas, and Area 6. Meanwhile, relief supplies were distributed to the care centers as of mid-last week. The supplies included basic food items and water provided by the member for Nakanai and Oil Palm Minister Francis Galia Maneke. Governor Sachin Mutuvel and Talesia MP Freddie Kumai also provided relief supplies. The non-food items include mattresses, pillows, tafa tanks, canvas and other basic food items. As affected locals try to pick themselves from the devastation, it is also noted that the oil palm plantations of Haji and the landowner estates lie in ruin with damages that could run into millions of kina. This will certainly affect the local communities and have adverse effects on the economy of the province as well as the country. Natasha Voy, National, EMTV News.
Western Province is currently experiencing dry spell. The people in the province are being advised to preserve their available water sources during this period. 3 weeks of continuous sunshine without rainfall led to lower water level along the Fly River Delta system. As a result, today saw few cargo vessels anchoring in Kiunga, while some container vessels and cargo ships are still anchored down Fly River and yet to reach Kiunga. Despite this current situation, business operations, schools and health services in Kiunga and Tabubil towns are continuing as normal. It is understood some companies operating in the province are on scaled-down operations due to dry weather conditions. An investment in water, sanitation and hygiene is an investment towards better education and health outcomes. This was the remarks made by WaterAid PNG Director Program Navara Kian during the recent opening of 2 ventilated improved pit toilet facilities for Kerea Primary School in Hirikoyari District in Central Province recently.
The facilities were built by WaterAid PNG with funding support from the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. Each block consists of standard pit toilets, 1 inclusive toilet for children with disabilities, and a hand-washing station for each block. Ms. Kian said our research in 2018 indicated only 51% of PNG schools have access to safe, clean water, while 28% have access to proper sanitation, 18% has access to proper menstrual hygiene management facilities for young girls, and only 10% have access to proper hand-washing facilities. Given the low statistics, not many schools have access to water, sanitation and hygiene. Hence, urge the students and teachers to appreciate and care for the facilities. Member for Kairuku, Honorable Peter Isohaimo, who shared similar sentiment, emphasized on the importance of these facilities. Highlighting such facilities also raises the standard of the school, enabling the school to get prepared for future developments. Gladys Kila, National, EMTV News.
With the year almost winding down, Moaina Secondary School in the Sinesine Yongomul district of Simbu Province saw the graduation for 266 grade 12s recently, adding to potential candidates vying for a spot in the country's tertiary institutions.
With the theme Embrace Peace, Work and Happiness through Christ for a Sustainable Future, School Principal Anamai Solomon acknowledged the guidance of the Sinesine Yongomul District Body of Christ to the school, expressing that there are many students who face challenges physically and spiritually that can easily hinder students' learning. Mrs. Solomon, when congratulating the graduates, said it was not an easy journey this far, encouraging that God must be put first to see a sustainable future. The graduation was the 13th for the school. To add more value to the day, a new classroom had been commissioned by the Simbu Deputy Administrator Field Service, Mr. Chris Mondo. The new classroom was funded by the Simbu Provincial Government through its Provincial Support Improvement Program or PSIP in 2019. Mr. Mondo urged everyone to take ownership of the infrastructure development taking place in the school. Moana Secondary School has a total of 38 teachers in all and 1,963 students. Natasha Voy, National, EMTV News.
A young girl who had a serious medical condition called cystic hygroma, who underwent an operation in Mount Hagen, is now back and happy with her family.
Yaum Sani from Hote in Salamoa had a medical condition called the cystic hygroma, which is a part of a group of conditions called the vascular anomalies, which are based from different vessels like arterial, venous, lymphatic, capillary, and arteriovenous.
She had a big swollen, like a rugby ball here. Here. Then she also had a swollen here, this high, big.
Morobe Governor Luther Wenge learned of a condition through the media and made it possible for the child to be flown to Mount Hagen, where she underwent operation.
Lions of PNG, they brought to my attention of her sickness, and they requested the Morobe provincial government to help her. And when I saw the picture, I was very sorry for her.
Governor Wenge explained that if a tiny piece of the cyst is left behind after operation, it had a good chance to grow back, but Yaum was very fortunate that everything was removed successfully according to the doctor who operated her. He says there are people in Morobe who have similar conditions, and his government is committed to providing assistance for treatment. Governor Wenge also made an announcement that a group under his direction will be sent out to identify people with special medical needs and conditions.
Then we can use that to help other people who encounter this kind of sickness.
Tamara Agavi, National EMTV News.
KCH has celebrated the appointment of Miss Vicky Vene to the position of acting CEO for National Development Bank after 15 years working in senior management. Her appointment is a historical milestone as the head of a bank, including SOEs in Papua New Guinea. The small event was witnessed by the staff and management of KCH in Port Moresby. Also present were NDB representatives, board and management.
NDB chairman Mr. Darrell Sito said he was extremely proud of Ms. Vene's appointment and that she was a great team player, which was vital for organizational growth and have such great qualities such as a team player.
Vicky brings a lot of teamwork, that's all and a lot of integrity. She very diligent, very humble, and she has all the attributes to be successful and to turn the bank around. And the fact that she said that she's willing to work with KCH, the portfolio manager, right through the CFO up to Professor Kavanagh Moore, the managing director of KCH, is a testament to Vicky's ability to work in a team.
While welcoming the NDB team to KCH head office, Managing Director Professor David Kavanagh Moore congratulated Ms. Vine on her elevation to the position of acting CEO and said she would steer NDB under her new leadership.
The banking background, finance background, and from a shareholder's perspective, we are proud. We look forward to greater things.
He added that the appointment of a female to take up a leadership role under one of its SOEs was aligned to KCH's target in achieving 30% representation of women on both boards and senior management roles across SOEs in the country by 2025. Ms. Vine thanked Professor Kavanagh Moore and KCH for the support, and she said she was excited in taking up the new role. She said as a woman, it was challenging and also humbling to lead an organization that had been in operation since 1967.
And humbled by the kind gesture shown to me by KCH to congratulate me on this acting appointment as CEO for NDB. Yeah, as a woman, it's challenging to be, one of the female SOE CEO, acting CEO, to be at the leadership role, leading a bank, is challenging.
Ms. Vin's achievement highlights KCH's commitment to fostering diversity and inclusion that is enshrined in the organization's strategy, diversity and inclusion policy. The small celebration reflected KCH's vision to break down barriers and elevate professional women like Ms. Vine to management and board positions that are dominated by male counterparts. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2685 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2610, 0.3936 Australian dollars, 0.2308 euro, 38.70 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed lower, cocoa closed higher, copra closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed higher. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading lower, the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. You're watching National EMTV News. The India Association of Papua New Guinea Inc. celebrated its 43rd India Night last night at the APEC House in Port Moresby, marking another successful year of fostering cultural exchange and community support.
Established in 1981, the Indian Association of PNG Inc. unites over 500 Indian and Indian origin families residing in Port Moresby and across Papua New Guinea. With some members having spent over 30 to 35 years in PNG, the association takes pride in their significant contributions to the country in various fields. The primary objective of the association is to foster friendship among community members, promote mutual understanding between India and Melanesian cultures, and contribute to the development of Papua New Guinea, their cherished home away from home. India Night, the association, is a signature event and annual cultural extravaganza that showcases India's rich and diverse culture and cuisine to the people of PNG and all nationalities residing in the country. More than mere entertainment, Indian Night serves as a vital fundraiser which funds generated dedicated to supporting community and charity projects in PNG. Over the past 40 years, the association has donated more than 2 million kina to various causes. This year, India Night had the theme of supporting education, and the event was graced by the presence of notable guests, including NCD Governor, a long-standing patron who has not missed an Indian Night since 2007, Governor Sasindran Mutuvel of West New Britain, and 480 guests and members. Indian Association President Raj Panait, accompanied by Sanjay Shah, former president and committee member, emphasized the significance of Indian Night as a cultural showcase and fundraising platform. He said India Night has not only entertained through music, dance and theatre, but has also been a crucial fundraiser for community projects. This year, their theme focuses on supporting education and are proud to announce that India Night 2023 raised over 140,000 kina to be dedicated to various educational projects, as stated by the President. The Indian Association of PNG looks forward to continuing its commitment to cultural exchange, community development and charitable initiatives in the years to come. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Moving to overseas news, today is the final day of the current 4-day truce between Israel and Hamas, as mediators in Qatar are working hard to extend the truce.
Crowds of people cheered the arrival of a convoy carrying the latest hostages to be freed. In the latest exchange, a further 17 abductees have made it out, bringing the total number during the agreement window to 54. It sparked emotional scenes in Israel as relatives welcomed the return of their loved ones after 7 weeks in captivity.
She's tough, and I can say that she said that she was thinking about the family a lot, and that it helped her survive, and that she could hear the voices of the great-grandchildren calling her, and that it gives her a lot of power.
3 Thailand farm workers are the latest group of hostages that were released by Hamas, as 14 other hostages were released earlier.
14 Thai nationals who are being held hostage by Hamas are expected to return to Thailand in the next few days. On Friday, 10 Thais were among the 24 who were released. The others were 13 Israelis and a Philippine national. And then on Sunday, a further 4 Thai nationals were released alongside 13 Israelis. They were taken to a medical facility just south of Tel Aviv, where they're undergoing medical checks and some treatment. They're expected to stay there for about 48 hours while the embassy arranges their travel home. From the pictures that have emerged so far, the hostages seem to be in relatively good health. They're smiling in the photographs. One even gives a thumbs up to the camera. And the Prime Minister here, Seta Tavason, has said that they are all relatively well physically, and that no one needed urgent medical care. He said their mental health is also pretty good. They're all talking, obviously and understandably. They're just desperate to see their families, talk to their families, and have showers, and for life to return to normal. The Prime Minister also thanked everyone who was involved in securing this release, and he called for the remaining hostages to be released. There's still an estimated 18 Thai nationals who are being held hostage by Hamas. Now, this was obviously part of this 4-day ceasefire that was brokered by Qatar, Egypt and the United States, during which Hamas is set to release 50 hostages and Israel 150 Palestinian prisoners, all of whom are women and children. Now, before the war, about 30,000 Thai nationals were living and working in the agriculture sector in Israel, and 5,000 of those were in the area around the Gaza Strip. Often Thais from poor rural backgrounds will go to Israel where the wage is relatively high, and they'll send money back to their families, and it's a really important way for them to sort of support and help their communities. But it has meant that Thailand is actually the biggest group of foreign nationals who were killed and went missing in those October 7 attacks. I think it was around 39 people, they estimate, 39 Thai nationals who were killed, and there are 3 still in hospital. So this, despite the fact that this war is happening very far from Thailand, it's had a huge impact on the whole country.
Police in Australia have charged more than 100 people as 1,000 climate change activists block the world's largest coal port.
Hundreds of climate protesters spent the weekend at the port of Newcastle, and they were trying to stop the export of about 500,000 tonnes of coal. And by the end of the protest, 109 people had been arrested by police, and that includes 5 teenagers. A 97-year-old man was also among those arrested, and police have now confirmed that 104 people have been charged. They've all been charged with interfering with other people's use of the water. So hundreds of people took part in this 30-hour blockade, and groups of about 50 or 60 people took it in turns to paddle out into the water in floats and kayaks into Newcastle Port's shipping lane. And protesters say the government has failed to act on climate change, and they're demanding that the government stops allowing new coal projects and does more to tax fossil fuel companies. But the Premier, Chris Minns, spoke earlier this morning, and he says that coal is important to the New South Wales economy and the energy transition, and he says he doesn't support climate activists taking action and blocking the port. Take a listen.
I don't support it. I'd rather it didn't happen. We sold $40 billion worth of coal last year, and we need it if we're going to transition our economy to renewable energies. In fact, it is not possible to do it without getting coal royalties as a result of exports. It will not happen in the state of New South Wales.
Pope Francis says he won't be cancelling his address at the United Nations Climate Change Summit in Dubai after reports said that he was down with a lung infection.
On Sunday, the 86-year-old skipped his weekly appearance at St. Peter's Square, instead giving a televised noon blessing. It's not the pontiff's first respiratory issue, as a young man, part of his lung was removed due to severe infection. And earlier this year, Pope Francis was hospitalized for 3 days for what he later said was pneumonia and what the Vatican described as a case of bronchitis.
National EMTV News continues after the break with Trukai Sport. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Kickboxing Federation will hold its 2023 National Kickboxing Championship in Sydney.
In preparations for the upcoming 2023 Kickboxing National Championships, various kickboxing clubs in Port Moresby are currently in training ahead of the titles. According to President for Samson Anam Kickboxing Club, Nelson Samson, many of the fighters in the club will attend the national titles in Lae Morbe Province come December.
Southern Region team for the National Championship in Lae on December 16 to 17 next month. So I'm appealing to any business houses and our local governor and CDC, Paus Pakop, if you can help us, please get in touch with EMTV News so that they can help come to EMTV News. So your support and your kind help towards this team will help us.
He said the national titles to be held in Lae will be used to identify and select top fighters that will represent Papua New Guinea at next year's international fights. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
The Chief Executive Officer for the South Pacific Games Organizing Committee, Peter Stewart, reflects on week 1 of the Games.
The first week of Seoul 2023 has seen a record of 4,963 athletes and officials from the 24 participating Pacific Island countries and territories that grace Honiara's shores, the biggest Pacific Games ever hosted. Last Sunday's extravagant opening ceremony, a total of 522 medals have been presented to gold, silver, and bronze medal winners in 13 different sporting codes: archery, golf, judo, karate, rugby league 9s, rugby union 7s, swimming, sailing, table tennis, tennis, volleyball, basketball, and weightlifting. The CEO was overwhelmed with the level of support the people of Honiara rendered towards the Games throughout the week. It was pleasing to see how enthusiastically Honiara has embraced the Games. From the sellout opening ceremony to the loud cheering crowds at many venues, there has been nothing but smiling faces and warm support for all visiting athletes. He added that visiting delegations and team managers have also expressed gratitude for the hospitality received in Honiara at the Games that led to a tremendous start.
Trying to tap it over.
Claire Malta, Trukai Sports.
With the 17th Pacific Games underway in Honiara, Solomon Islands, PNG is in 10th place on the Pacific Games gold medal tally with 4 gold and 26 medals in total. Leading well ahead is New Caledonia with 58 gold medals and a total of 130 medals in all, followed by Australia with 28 gold medals and 58 medals in total. Tahiti holds the 3rd spot with 22 gold and 86 medals overall. This is according to SOL 2023. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Eastern Papuan Carnival involving the kids soccer program funded by OSAID kicked off last week. The seasonal program is run by Andrew Lepani, former player of the national men's team, the Hekari United.
The EPC sports program is aimed at helping young boys and girls build their skills in the code of football, not just to play the game and actively participate whilst learning the basics of football. The kids program funded by OSAID is an initiative to help keep children engaged in football during the festive periods. Meanwhile, the EPC is planning to engage as many young football enthusiasts in Port Moresby so as to grow and boost the interest of football. Secretary for Eastern Papua Carnival, George Bukoya, thanked OSAID for their support in helping young men and women realize their potential in football. He said this program in particular is to engage young children that hang around during the annual soccer tournament.
Within this year's tournament is a children's program, children's soccer down at the bottom. That's been run by Andrew Lepani, former PNG player and captain. And he's, I think, attracted some sponsors from OSAID to come and support him to run the children's program. So we've left that in his capable hands.
Gladys Kila, Trukai Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region: Port Moresby City, partly cloudy with possible overnight drizzles. Popondetta cloudy with some rain drizzles tonight. In the Momasa region, Lae City, partly cloudy with overnight drizzles. Vanimo cloudy tonight with morning brief showers. In the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, partly cloudy. Bukal mostly fine and partly cloudy. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, rain showers and drizzles tonight, then morning fog patches. Mandi and Wabeg, rain showers and possible thunderstorms tonight, then morning fog patches.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Monday, the 27th of November, 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by Paradise Foods, celebrating 90 years in PNG.